Good day, students. My name is V.R Nkuna, your TMS3734 lecturer. I hope you are still doing well during these trying times and you are looking forward to the completion of the portfolio assignment. The portfolio assignment can be found within tutorial letter 1 or 2. And at any stage when you are busy with the assignment and you need any assistance, please feel free to contact me through the contact details that I've provided on the screen. The portfolio assignment acts as your examination. As for TMS3734, we don't have an examination, and contribute 80% towards your final marks. The due date for this assignment is the 30th of September 2021. Please make sure that the assignment is in before the 30th or on the due date to avoid disappointment. This portfolio assignment consists of 11 tasks, which you are expected to complete. And with this video, I'll be taking you through each and every portfolio task and how best you can try and answer the questions or to answer these portfolio tasks. The first portfolio task is literacy in tourism. In order for you to be able to teach tourism in the FET phase, you must have a deeper knowledge of the subject and the understanding for the subject that you are teaching. And this portfolio task number 1, you are expected to submit 5 tourism attraction sites pictures. And these attraction sites must include at least a local site, the regional, as well as the world site. Once you've found these 5 pictures, you must identify them, label and indicate where they occur. Your complete attraction site will include pictures with the name of the site, the correct location, the status of the attraction site according to tourism teaching, and the correct grade and the section within which this attraction site is found within the curriculum in the FET phase. It can be grade 10, can be grade 11, can be grade 12, as long as you can be able to locate it within the curriculum. Right, then let's move to the second portfolio task, which is portfolio task number 2. The second portfolio focuses on lesson presentation. And this portfolio task, I would prefer if you were to complete it widely during your teaching practice, because that's when you've got time to be able to plan your lesson and reflect on it. On this lesson presentation and lesson plan, you are expected to submit 2 lesson plans. One will be the first attempt, and then the second lesson plan will be your improved lesson of the first lesson plan. Right, let's quickly look at this screenshot that I have here of the template of the lesson plans. These have been provided to you on the tutorial letter 1 or 2 on attachment A. And you also have examples of the lessons within your study guide, which was provided to you at the beginning of the academic year. So here I've got an example of the first lesson that you're going to have. So if you're not technologically advanced or you don't have much of the technology gadgets, you can use the first highlighter to indicate that this first lesson is the first attempt, because there's only one lesson template. Then you plan your lesson accordingly. I don't have the whole lesson plan here depicted on the screen, but this is the example of the lesson plan. And as I highlighted earlier, these can also be found in your study guide. Please make sure that when you go through this whole portfolio assignment, you have your study guide with you at all times, because the study guide will help you to answer certain questions. For example, on your lesson plan, you're going to have the subject, the grade that you're going to be teaching, how long is the lesson, the number of learners in that classroom that you are teaching for that particular lesson, the learning intention of the lesson you're going to list there, and so forth and so forth. There are 8 in total, and then you go through them. But what I want to highlight to you is the criteria that will be used when we assess your lesson plan. So please pay attention to the marks that are given on the criteria, because you cannot get a full mark by just giving one statement. For example, the first question there says you must know why are you going to present this lesson? Those are the lesson invitation that I have on the left. You must know the topic and the themes where it's located. Maybe the first 2, 3 questions will be 1, 2, but when you go to the third question, it says you must know how you will present the lesson, the method, the type of the lesson, and the motivation behind for the choice of the lesson method that you have chosen. So here you must be able to substantiate. If you're going to go with discussion, you'll explain the reason why I'm going with discussion is because of this and this and that. So please pay attention to such, and all the marks, please look at it. It counts most within this assignment. There are 2 portfolio tasks that counts more. One is this portfolio task number 2. And then at the end of each lesson plan, we consolidate as teachers. What is consolidation? When you consolidate, it means you wrap up the lesson. You want to find out whether the learners understood the lesson. And how do you go about that? It's giving them an activity. If it's the first attempt, teacher, then you're going to discuss and reflect where you can improve before you can present the second lesson plan. So that when you present your second lesson plan, then you have advices that your mentor teacher has given to you, and you are able to present a proper lesson. And please indicate where the changes you have made. So on the assessment task that you're going to design, please pay attention. This must be going to have a page we're going to answer when and how the assessment will take place. There are also words that are given to you so that it can guide you how to use. How will you take into account the individual learning styles that are within your classroom? Are local values incorporated within your lesson? How will you make sure that the assessment is integral part of the ongoing lesson, which is talking about the continuous lesson? Where does it fit within the CAPS curriculum? So all of these questions, you're going to answer one by one. And then once you've answered all of those questions, then you're going to attach the assessment task, whether it's a homework, whether it's a classwork, whether it's a research assignment, depending on your designed assessment plan, you're going to attach it. But before you attach, make sure that all these bullets that you see on the screens are answered, because that 30 marks will not be awarded should the assessment task come only with the assessment task without these questions being answered. So first answer these questions, and then once you've answered the question, please make sure that now you attach your assessment plan. Portfolio task number 3, the focus is on the learner's needs. Learners learn differently in the classroom. We've got learners that have got HDD, we've got learners that grasp things easily fast, some are very slow. So here we want to focus on the learner's needs. So in this portfolio task number 3, you are going to ask your tourism class, the whole class, to write down how they would want to experience tourism learning in their ideal world. So the learners will just write whatever that they think that if for them to be able to learn tourism in the context of where you are teaching in the ideal world, what kind of a tourism classroom would they like to have? And then once you've done that, then you proceed to ask them to write down which of these things that they've mentioned are realistic and possible within the school settings, because they'll start with the bigger picture of having all ideals and everything. Now you guide them. Now we're looking at our school situation. Which ones do you think are ideal? Once they make the summary of that, you're going to take that and make a summary of their answers and list the things that they've mentioned first and the second question, and then add the notes as they wrote as evidence. So what do I mean here? It means you must, with your summary, you must also attach the evidence from the learners, what they've written. That me as Victor, I would prefer to have a class that has got a projector, data projector, a class that consists of charts, a class that consists of tourism magazines that will help me to learn. And then once you've done, attach that, now you're going to reflect on what learners wrote. On your reflection, please indicate how their preferences or their needs can be realistically accommodated, or if they cannot be accommodated, because in some school contexts, you cannot be able to accommodate them. Be ingenious in trying to find ways to try and meet this expectation. So your complete summary would at least contain both lists, which is the first and the second question, based on at least 20 learners. I know tourism in many of the schools have got less learners. So if you are in that situation where your learners are below 20. It's fine. You continue reflecting of those less than 20 learners. But if they're 20, please, would like to see all 20 evidence of the learners that they've meted, and then you reflect on those at least 20 learners, because some schools have got more than 50 or 70 per class. It will be too tedious for you to analyze all of them. Just choose 20 at max and then make a summary of that. And then that's how you can do the portfolio task number 3. Let's move to the portfolio task number 4. Portfolio task number 4 is the classroom behavior as well as communication, which is very important as a beginner teacher. You must have this skill of how are you going to behave as an educator within the classroom? How are you going to communicate with your learners? So in this portfolio task, when you go back into your tutorial letter 1 or 2, there is a link that you're going to access. The link will take you to the YouTube. If the link is not working, please feel free to send me an email, and then I'll try and send you a correct link, because some of the links, they get corrupted along the line. But I've triple checked, the link was working. So on this link, you're gonna land onto a YouTube video. On this YouTube video, it's a classroom setting where an educator is presenting a lesson within the classroom. Right. There will be communication between the teacher and the learners. So your focus for this task must be on the teacher. Ignore everything that the learners are doing and so forth. Your focus must be on the educator. So once you've watched the video, you're going to reflect on the video. You discuss the quality of the communication of that video, right? In relation to the educator, the clarity of their voice, the type of the communication, is it a one-way or two-way communication? How does the teacher communicate with the learners? The appropriate and inappropriate behavior that is demonstrated by the educator, right? And then explain in your own communication. Once you've explained the appropriate and the inappropriate behavior, you're going to explain in your own communication abilities, you compare to that of the video. Explain how you resolve the inappropriate behavior, which is demonstrated by the teacher in your own tourism classroom. So you only address on when you write now the reflection. The communication that you're going to reflect on will be based on the teacher's inappropriate behavior and how would you do it differently in your tourism teaching. Right. And that is the portfolio task number 4. Let's move to portfolio task number 5, which is the IT skills. Right, we in the 21st century where technology is overtaking and our classroom are following suit. So this is very important for us as educators and you as a beginner teacher to have at least a skill of how to use some of the IT related devices or equipment that can aid in teaching tourism within your classroom successfully. So here you're going to access, likewise in the previous portfolio task, we're going to have a link which you're going to access a blog. In this blog, there are 7 effective teaching strategies for the classroom teaching, which includes information technology. So you're going to read all 7, but you must focus on the information technology. Once you've done reading that blog, you're going to prepare a map work lesson in tourism, and then not the whole lesson, by using as many IT resources as possible, or any resources that you have. It can be maps, can be pictures, can be the orthophoto maps, but please make sure that you include some IT devices, because the aim of this portfolio task is for us to see whether you are able to use the IT related equipment, right? And then include the copies or the photos of each of the resources that you used in your lesson plan, right? And clearly indicate. So for instance, if you're going to have a tablet, for instance, you say, we're going to ask my learners to have the tablet. What is the purpose of the tablet? So each and every IT device that you put there, make sure that you explain where are they going to be used in that map work lesson. So clearly indicate very clearly where in the lesson you will use each and every resources or the devices that you have in the planning of your map work section. Let's move to the next portfolio, which is portfolio task number 6, which pays attention to the learner in the South African context. You are already busy with your teaching practicals, I believe. So you approach any representative within the school, but I advise you to approach the school principal, the academic deputy principal, or any deputy principal, mostly the senior management within the school. I know maybe you deal a lot with your mentor teacher, but I'll advise you to go further to investigate with your principal or the deputy principal for academic or other deputy principal or senior management people within the school. You're going to ask the representative to give you the information regarding the diversified learner population that they have. They must indicate to you the gender, the race, the religion, the home language of their learners. And you're going to present this information graphically. Once you've presented this information, then I expect you to go and explain how this will influence the classroom management, the teaching and assessment, the learner behavior. Most importantly, you must now have to explain how are you going to overcome each and every challenge that are posed by diversified population within your classroom, which is tourism, regarding the classroom management, the teaching, assessment, and learner behavior in the tourism. You're going to indicate and explain in full the benefit that can be gained by having such diversified learner population. It is very important to focus on how diversified learner population can be utilized to the benefit of the tourism teaching. Because when you start teaching as a beginner teacher, you're probably going to have most of the challenges. As teachers, we must take the challenges into the opportunities. Hence, on this task, we expect you to take the opportunity to reflect on how this diversified population can be utilized to the benefit of the teaching of tourism. There are learners that are Muslim, there are learners that are African, traditional beliefs in religion or Christianity. And how can you be able to incorporate that? There are various aspects that I can give examples to in tourism that you can focus on. So please reflect religiously so in this task. Now let's move to portfolio task number 7. The portfolio task number 7 is barriers to learning. According to the white paper of special needs education in South Africa, we have learners that have got special needs. And you, as a beginner teacher, you're going to find yourself within the tourism classroom with learners that have got special needs. So in this portfolio task, you're going to access the link that are provided on the tutorial letter 1 or 2, which will take you to the white paper for the special needs within the Department of Education, of Basic Education. Read through the white paper, because we as educators, we are required at all time that all our curriculum development, assessment, as well as the instructional development programs make special effort to address the learning and teaching requirement of the diversified range of learning needs. And that therefore we must be able to address the barriers to learning that arise from the language, the medium of learning and instruction, our teaching styles, the pace and time frames for the completion of the curriculum or the curricula, learning support materials, our choice of equipment that we use in the classroom, assessment methods, as well as our techniques. So those are things that you will find in this white paper. And this is required as teachers, we must be able to address. So once you've read through the white paper, you're going to explain and demonstrate how you will assist learners with learning barriers. In your discussion, please include at least 5 examples on how you're going to overcome such barriers that you find within that white paper. 1, through teaching methods or teaching style, the pace on how you're going to present your lessons. One example or your discussion must be how are you going to adapt your curriculum to make sure that the learners with different needs are attended to, your learning support, your learning activities, as well as the material and the equipment. Sometimes you can decide I'm going to use a data projector, and it's a class of 80, and the learners that are sitting at the back is learner impaired, visual impaired, and they cannot clearly see. So how are you going to be able to do that? Some of the examples that that's what I'm going to overcome. One is through alternative assessment activities. Some learners are good with numbers, some are good with words, some are good with practical parts. So are you going to be able to accommodate your learners in tourism with different activities? So in your discussion, I would love to see all of those, and all of those criteria are embedded within your tutorial letter 1 or 2. Let's move to the next portfolio task, which is portfolio task 8, tourism classroom. Right, in this portfolio task, you as an educator or as a beginner, as a novice teacher, would like you to draw your ideal tourism classroom. So in this ideal classroom, you must draw your classroom with all the furnitures, the resources, the media, and the equipment that you like to have, so that you are well prepared as soon as you move into the career or teaching in the following year. You are well prepared that this is a tourism classroom and this is what I would like to have. In your picture drawing, please should indicate the placement of the furnitures, which will be conducive for group work. Though with COVID, there are some restrictions, but we'd like you to be innovative on how the challenge that is posed by COVID, how will you be able to place a furniture? So that's what we'd like you to draw in that ideal classroom. And then portfolio task number 9 is assessment within tourism. This counts more. I think this is the second one after this portfolio task number 2. These two have got the large portion of the marks. So in this portfolio task number 9, you are going to design a formal assessment activity. This must be for grade 11. You cannot do the grade 10, you cannot do grade 12. The focus must be in grade 11 and it must be in term 3. We are back now in schools, so we are back with term 3. So your assessment task must focus on term 3. It must cover all the cognitive level. Please pay attention to the questions that are provided to the attachment, similarly to what I gave you at the beginning with the lesson plans. And this attachment can also be found within tutorial letter 1 or 2. It's named attachment B. So go and look. I've also given you the cognitive levels when you set your questions, and please present your own question paper. You cannot have any assessment task that was designed by your mentor teacher. This must be something that you're going to design yourself. Right, portfolio task number 10 is the tourism teacher. Right, in this portfolio task, you're going to make a collage of pictures that will be depict the characteristics of an ideal tourism teacher. Once you find all these pictures that you're going to put together into a collage, then you already know what or how should a tourism teacher look like. Then you're going to explain comprehensively in a reflection on your own development towards becoming that tourism teacher. In your reflection, you're going to include references to where you are currently, where you have to go to, and what you need to do in order to become those characteristics that you have portrayed within that collage. And when are you going to do it? How long is it going to take you to be able to reach those characteristics of an ideal tourism teacher that you created in the collage? And that's all that you need to do for this portfolio task. Lastly, is portfolio task 11, which is the reflection. The portfolio task 11, we're focusing on the reflection. The objective of teacher training at UNISA is to prepare student teachers to be reflective practitioners who can adapt and change their practice based on the reflection of their own teaching experiences in their own classrooms. Hence, we want you on this portfolio task to go and write a reflection. What are you going to write in your reflection? In your reflection, you're going to write a reflection on your study of this module, TMS3734. Describe meaningful activities that we've given you throughout the academic year, information, the documents, and the resources that you used. In order to be able to achieve this reflection, ask yourself if and why are they useful, the resources, the documents, the information that were provided throughout, and also represent the good practice. You describe how you can use, adapt, or change them in order to improve your teaching experiences. So the description must be insight, perspective, and should contribute to you to becoming a better tourism teacher. And that is the end of the portfolio task. However, before I conclude my presentation, there is additional marks which were indicated on your tutorial letter 1 or 2. Please make sure that your assignment has a cover page with all your student details, must have a table of content which will make it easy to navigate, the plagiarism declaration form which must be signed. And I stressed this so many times with the announcements that I posted, that if the declaration form is not signed to acknowledge that the work that you're going to submit is your own, your portfolio task will not be marked. And remember, this portfolio assignment represent an exam since we do not have a written or sit-in exam. I wish you all the best, and I thank you.